Hey, I'm Annabelle, nurse, birth doula, and mama, and I'm here to build your confidence in birth. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel and ring that bell to stay up to date to my latest content. Today, we are talking about your big question, can I eat snacks during labor? And I'm here to confidently tell you, yes, mama, you can eat and drink during your labor, whether you give birth in the hospital, at a birthing center, at home, or out in the field. You can eat and drink. I recently heard a mama say that with her first labor and birth, she was told she could not eat and drink, and that really was hard for her during labor. So with her second baby, she decided on a home birth. I was really overwhelmed when I heard her say this because I just felt so heavy for her that in her first birth, she did not know that she had the right to say, I am going to eat and drink. And with her second birth, she decided on such a big thing. Home birth is a big decision, and it was because of the fact that she wanted to eat and drink. So what's the big deal about nurses and doctors saying, nope, you're in labor, you can't eat and drink during your labor process? What you're gonna hear is, if you have to have a C-section, so labor doesn't go exactly right, we take you to the operating room and you have to have a C-section, there is a possibility that you could aspirate if you're under general anesthesia, so you're completely asleep. You could aspirate, the contents of your stomach come up, they go down into your lungs, they make you very sick, and you could possibly die. That is the big scare tactic. But what research actually shows is, first of all, that is a teeny tiny percentage of moms that could happen to, they get sick and they die. But it's still a big deal. What if I'm that mom? So let's actually talk about some other reasons that this probably isn't going to happen. Well, no matter how long you're in labor, usually not more than 2 days, 48 hours. So say you're fasting that whole time. Research shows that your stomach is probably still gonna have some remnants of food in your stomach. No matter how long you fast, you're still gonna have some particles of food in your stomach. But on top of this, when we actually look at moms that aspirate and it causes sickness and death, what we really see is it's the acidity of the stomach that causes that illness. So you have gastric juices in your stomach helping break down the food. That acidity is never gonna go away. Your stomach is always going to be acidic to break down food. And so if moms are aspirating these gastric juices, well, fasting isn't gonna change that. If mom's not eating and drinking, that acidity is still going to stay there. And the last thing I wanna mention is that if you're fasting during your labor process and it's a long process and you feel like you don't have that right, we actually see more negative effects for mom than we see positive with she might have to go to C-section, she might aspirate. So the balance of this scale is way off when we say, no, you're a healthy mom, but you still can't eat and drink, and we're seeing some other negative effects. The big question is, do you need to eat during labor? Maybe you haven't even thought about it yet. You're thinking labor, contractions, pain, birth. What do snacks and fluids have to do with any of this? If I am a marathon runner, I am not thinking about snacks during this workout. For moms that have labors that progress slowly, so maybe a first-time mom who is having to have her labor induced at the hospital, and labor is just going so slow, and it's been several hours, more than 24 hours that she has been in labor. For that mom, we're a little bit worried about ketosis. So her body, if she hasn't been replenishing with calories, starts to break down fat cells. And that can increase acidity in mom's blood. And this also could lead to baby being affected. So for this mom, we do not want her labor to slow down anymore. And if she ends up in ketosis, that could cause her uterus, that big muscle, to stop contracting as strong as we want it to. And it could cause the progression of labor to slow down. So that's the mom that we're thinking, okay, you really need to eat something. Definitely drink something because you have been in labor for so long. Now, other moms, me included, I had some food at the beginning of labor. I noticed I was having contractions and they were starting to build. I didn't quite know that it was the real deal yet because maybe it was just Braxton Hicks, and I had to wait for several hours to look back and say, okay, I am definitely getting a trend here. My contractions are frequent. I am in labor. So I was eating throughout the day. I had a very light dinner. You know, I started to feel a little like I don't feel right. I think this is labor. And I was eating things that were just very light, and I was making sure that I was getting a lot of fluids. So definitely you need to be eating at the beginning of labor. This is when you're excited because labor is probably starting. You're getting outside, you're walking, you're on your birth ball, and you're replenishing with just some foods that you know will be good for your body. But as those contractions build and you really are in active labor, you might not want to eat. You are having a lot of pain in your abdominal region because that's where your uterus is, that's where you're having those contractions, and food just is not sounding good. When we see moms get nauseated and possibly vomit, it's usually around 6 to 8 centimeters where the cervix is dilated. So they are definitely in active labor. They're getting ready to transition and then into the pushing phase. And so like I said, those intense contractions, pressing on your stomach, food probably is not gonna sound good. So if you're thinking about, do I need to eat during labor? You really wanna get those snacks in at the beginning of labor when you're just getting into everything and you're saying, okay, I know I'm about to run a really big marathon. Let me get my body fueled and ready to go so that I have the energy I need in that marathon. What should you eat during labor? Things that are easy to digest, give you really quick energy, and you know are healthy for your body. So I always recommend things like all fruit popsicles, dried fruit, bananas, oranges, honey sticks. Make sure whatever snacks you think of and you're thinking healthy, also think, if I were to throw up, would this be disgusting? Because a lot of mamas think yogurt. Okay, any sort of dairy, if you throw it up, is going to be completely disgusting. So things like dairy or peanut butter, whatever you can think of, if you throw it up, will it completely just throw you off your labor group? So make sure they're easy to digest, quick energy, healthy, and they would not be gross if you threw them up. But then also fluids are super important. And I wanna stress fluids more than the food itself, because you need to be hydrating all throughout your labor process, early labor, active labor, and so on. So making sure that you have things like just plain old H2O, drinking lots of water so that you don't get dehydrated. Bone broth has lots of vitamins, minerals, and protein in it. So grab yourself some bone broth, have it around the house, and you can have it warmed up in labor or just drink it cold. Bone broth, vitamin water, and then also smoothie drinks are great because you get that quick energy, but it's still a liquid, also great in labor. So those snacks are definitely what I recommend. If you can think of some others, I would love to hear about them in the comment section below so we can share them with other mamas. Start thinking about those snacks that you can have around the house. The big point that I want to continue to bring home in this video is that, mama, you have the right to eat and drink during labor. That stress that comes up from moms that feel like they did not have that empowerment in labor often led to their contractions weakening and that labor to slow down. And so you can get the satisfaction and the empowerment of knowing, I said, yes, I'm gonna eat and drink, and I didn't even eat and drink, but I had the right to say yes. Quick side note here for mamas that decide to go into the hospital pretty early in labor and ask for an epidural. Epidurals usually restrict moms to a clear liquid diet, so your nurse is going to be pretty adamant about that. But you still have the right to eat and drink. You'll probably have to sign a form that says, I take on full responsibility for any outcomes, but I'm okay with that. But I love to bring up another reason to give birth without any form of medication. You can labor at home in early labor, move around, eat and drink, and take on those contractions. Then you go into the hospital in active labor, you can continue to move around, you're not attached to anything, you are having that oxytocin released from your brain in full waves, you're getting the satisfaction of a birth without any medication. And that's a hard adventure to take on. I wanna go with you and help you. All that I know and all of my encouragement is all for you. So check out my free mini class in the description below where we're gonna talk about my 4-step process. I will see you in the next video.